I firmly believed that the poplar and the pit possessed the peculiar power of a talisman. I never felt dull when I was near them. I did not understand then that I was not dull because I was a child. Well, now I'm grown up, the talisman no longer works. "How long did you live here, altogether?" asked Arkady. "2 years on end; after that we traveled about. We led a roving life, chiefly wandering from town to town." "And has this house been standing long?" "Yes. My grandfather built it, my mother's father." "Who was he, your grandfather?" "The devil knows, some kind of second major. He served under Suvorov and always told stories about marching across the Alps; inventions probably." "You have a portrait of Suvorov hanging in the drawing room. I like such little houses as yours, old fashioned and warm, and they always have a special kind of scent about them." "A smell of lamp oil and clover," remarked Bazarov, yawning. "And the flies in these dear little houses. Phew!" "Tell me," began Arkady after a short pause, "were they strict with you as a child?" "You see what my parents are like. They're not a severe sort." "Are you fond of them, Evgeny?" "I am, Arkady." "How they adore you!" Bazarov was silent for a while. "Do you know what I'm thinking about?" he said at last, clasping his hands behind his head. "No, what is it?" "I'm thinking how happy life is for my parents. My father at the age of 60 can fuss around, chat about palliative measures, heal people. He plays the magnanimous master with the peasants, has a gay time in fact. And my mother is happy too. Her day is so crammed with all sorts of jobs, with sighs and groans, that she hasn't a moment to think about herself. While I "While you?" "While I think. Here I lie under a haystack. The tiny narrow space I occupy is so minutely small in comparison with the rest of space where I am not, and which has nothing to do with me, and the portion of time in which it is my lot to live is so insignificant beside the eternity where I have not been and will not be. And in this atom, in this mathematical point, the blood circulates, the brain works and wants something. How disgusting! How petty!" "Allow me to point out that what you say applies generally to everyone." "You're right," interrupted Bazarov. "I wanted to say that they, my parents, I mean, are occupied and don't worry about their own nothingness; it doesn't sicken them, while I feel nothing but boredom and anger." "Anger? Why anger?" "Why? How can you ask why? Have you forgotten?"
"I remember everything, but still I can't agree that you have any right to be angry. You're unhappy, I realize, but
"Oh, I can see, Arkady Nikolaich, that you regard love like all modern young men. Cluck, 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 you call to the hen, and the moment the hen comes near, off you run. I'm not like that. But enough of it all. It's a shame to talk about what can't be helped." He turned over on his side. "Ah, there goes a brave ant dragging along a half dead fly. Take her away, brother, take her. Don't pay any attention to her resistance. Take full advantage of your animal privilege to be without pity. Not like us self-destructive creatures."
what are you talking about, Evgeny? When did you destroy yourself?"
Bazarov raised his head. "That's the only thing I'm proud of. I have not crushed myself, so a little woman can't crush me. Amen. It's all over. You won't hear another word from me about it." Both friends lay for a time in silence. "Yes," began Bazarov, "man is a strange animal. When one gets a side view from a distance of the dumb life our fathers lead here, one thinks, what could be better? You eat and drink and know you are acting in the most righteous and sensible way. If not, you're devoured by the tedium of it. One wants to have dealings with people even if it's only to abuse them. One ought to arrange one's life so that every moment of it becomes significant," remarked Arkady thoughtfully. "I dare say. The significant may be deceptive but sweet, though it's even quite possible to put up with the insignificant. But petty squabbles, that's a misery." "Petty squabbles don't exist for the man who refuses to recognize them as such." "Hm. What you have said is a commonplace turned upside down." "What? What do you mean by that phrase?" "I'll explain. To say, for instance, that education is beneficial, that's a commonplace, but to say that education is harmful is a commonplace turned upside down. It sounds more stylish, but fundamentally it's one and the same thing." "But where is the truth? On which side?" "Where? I answer you like an echo. Where?" "You're in a melancholy mood today, Evgeny." "Really? The sun must have melted my brain and I ought not to have eaten so many raspberries either." "In that case it wouldn't be a bad plan to doze a bit," remarked Arkady. "Certainly. Only don't look at me. Everyone has a stupid face when he's asleep." "But isn't it all the same to you what people think of you?" "I don't quite know how to answer you. A real man ought not to worry about such things. A real man is not meant to be thought about, but is someone who must be either obeyed or hated." "It's odd. I don't hate anyone," observed Arkady after a pause. "And I hate so many. You're a tender‐hearted, listless creature; how could you hate anyone? You're timid; you haven't much self‐reliance." "And you," interrupted Arkady, "do you rely on yourself? Have you a high opinion of yourself?" Bazarov paused. "When I meet a man who can hold his own beside me," he said with slow deliberation, "then I'll change my opinion of myself. Hatred! You said, for instance, today as we passed the cottage of our bailiff Philip, the one that's so neat and clean, well, you said, 'Russia will achieve perfection when the poorest peasant has a house like that, and every one of us ought to help to bring it about.' And I felt such a hatred for this poorest peasant, this Philip or Sidor, for whom I have to be ready to sacrifice my skin and who won't even thank me for it. And why should he thank me? Well, suppose he lives in a clean house, while weeds grow out of me. So what next?" "That's enough, Evgeny. Listening to you today one would be driven to agree with those who reproach us for absence of principles." "You talk like your uncle. Principles don't exist in general; you haven't yet managed to understand even that much. But there are sensations. Everything depends on them." "How is that?" "Well, take me for instance. I adopt a negative attitude by virtue of my sensations. I like to deny; my brain is made like that. And there's nothing more to it. Why does chemistry appeal to me? Why do you like apples? Also by virtue of our sensations. It's all the same thing. People will never penetrate deeper than that. Not everyone would tell you so, and another time I shouldn't tell you so myself. What? And is honesty also a sensation?" "I should think so."
"Evgeny," began Arkady in a dejected tone.
"Well, what?"
"That's not to your taste?" broke in Bazarov.
"No, brother, if you've made up your mind to mow down everything, don't spare your own legs.